Why does a man continue to do certain things which he feels he ought not to do? If he knows that what he is doing is wrong, where lies the ignorance? He continues to do those things because his knowledge of them is incomplete. He only knows he ought not to do them by certain precepts, without any qualms of conscience within. But he does not fully and completely understand what he is doing. He knows that certain acts bring him immediate pleasure, and so, in spite of the troubled conscience which follows that pleasure, he continues to commit them. He is convinced that the pleasure is good and desirable, and therefore to be enjoyed. He does not know that pleasure and pain are one, but thinks he can have the one without the other. He has no knowledge of the law which governs human actions. He never thinks of associating his sufferings with his own wrongdoing, but believes they are caused by the wrongdoing of others, or are the mysterious dispensations of Providence, and therefore not to be inquired into or understood. He is seeking happiness, and does those things which he believes will bring him most enjoyment, but he acts in entire ignorance of the hidden and inevitable consequences which attach to his actions. Said a man to me once, who was the victim of a bad habit, "I know the habit is a bad one, and that it does me more harm than good." And I said, "If you know what you are doing is bad and harmful, why do you continue to do it?" And he replied, "Because it is pleasant, and I like it." This man, of course, did not really know that his habit was bad. He had been told that it was, and he thought he knew or believed it was, but in reality he thought it was good, and that it was conducive to his happiness and well-being, and therefore he continued to practice it. When a man knows by experience that a thing is bad, and that every time he does it he injures his body, mind, or both, when his knowledge of that thing is so complete that he is acquainted with its whole train of baneful effects, then he cannot only not do it any longer, he cannot even desire to do it, and even the pleasure that was formerly in that thing becomes painful. No man would put a venomous snake in his pocket because it is prettily colored. He knows that a deadly sting lurks in those beautiful markings. Nor when a man knows the unavoidable pain and hurt which lie hidden in wrong thoughts and actions, does he continue to think and commit them. Even the immediate pleasure, which formerly he greedily sought, is gone from them. Their surface attractiveness has vanished. He is no longer ignorant concerning their true nature. He sees them as they are. I knew a young man who was in business, and although a member of a church and occupying the position of voluntary religious instructor, he told me that it was absolutely necessary to practice lying and deception in business. Otherwise, sure and certain ruin would follow. He said he knew lying was wrong, but while he remained in business, he must continue to do it. Upon questioning him, I found, of course, that he never tried truth and honesty in his business, had not even thought of trying the better way. So firmly convinced was he that it was not possible for him to know whether it would be productive or ruin. Now, did this young man know that lying was wrong? There was a perceptual sense only in which he knew, but there was a deeper and more real sense in which he did not know. He had been taught to regard lying as wrong, and his conscience bore out that teaching. But he believed that it brought him profit, prosperity, and happiness, and that honesty would bring him loss, poverty, and misery. In a word, he regarded lying, deep in his heart, as the right thing to do, and honesty as the wrong practice. He had no knowledge whatever of the real nature of the act of lying, how it is, on the instant of its committal, loss of character, loss of self-respect, loss of power, usefulness, and influence, and loss of blessedness, and how it unerringly leads to the loss of reputation and loss of material profit and prosperity. Only when such a man begins to consider happiness of others, prefers to embrace the loss which he fears rather than clutch at the gain which he desires, will he obtain that real knowledge which lofty moral conduct alone can reveal, and then, experiencing the greater blessedness, he will see how, all along, he has been deceiving and defrauding himself rather than others, has been living in darkest ignorance and self-delusion. These two common instances of wrongdoing will serve to illustrate and make plainer, to those of my readers who, while searching for truth, are as yet doubtful, uncertain, and confused, the deep truth that all sin or evil is a condition of ignorance, and therefore to be dealt with in a loving and not a hateful spirit. And as with bad habits and lying, so with all sin, with lust, hatred, malice, envy, pride, vanity, self-indulgence, and selfishness, in all its forms. It is a state of spiritual darkness, the absence of the light of truth in the heart, the negation of knowledge. Thus when, by overcoming the wrong condition in one's heart, the nature of evil is fully realized, and mere belief gives place to living knowledge,